Watcher to 6 actual. Target is in the main house. You have execute authority.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
How's it going, troops? Jordan here, back again with another Call of Duty Modern Warfare Loadout video. In today's loadout video, we are going to be creating another military-based class setup. Today we are going to be cruising in the Mediterranean Sea as we set sail to Italy and become a soldier of the Italian army. With everything that is currently happening in Italy, I wanted to dedicate my next military loadout to the country and its people. Plus, Italy is one of my favourite countries in the world, with its rich history, spectacular architecture and interesting culture. Italy has 4 main branches of their armed forces, with the primary one being the Esercito Italiano, which translates to Italian Army. So grab your pizzas and bottles of wine and sit back as we join the Esercito Italiano and begin by taking a look at our mission briefing. This is going to be a military loadout representing the Italian army of today. We are going to be revisiting the Italian army's history in both World War I and World War II, and we are going to be using range and reconnaissance to track enemy targets and dominate the high ground. The origins of the Italian army go back to 1861, when the Papal States of Italy unified under one banner as the Kingdom of Italy. Initially, the IA started out as the Regio Esercito, or Royal Army, before being changed to just the Italian Army. The Royal Army wouldn't get a solid taste of warfare until World War I, when the Italians were in a constant struggle at the Alpine front against the Austro-Hungarian Empire. This war between the two sides resulted in approximately 1.7 million people dead. Nearly 700,000 of those men were from the Royal Army, and nearly 600,000 of those were Italian civilians who died from war-related causes. Yes, the Allied forces of Italy won, but at what cost? Fast forward 21 years later and the world is in a second global conflict. However, this time it was the Italians who were the bad guys, as they were ruled by Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. Despite a strong will, the Italians just weren't quite as great as they once were. From the outside perspective, they weren't seen as a threatening force, and this was due to the failures of previous battles at El Alamein and the loss of the Greco-Italian War. It wasn't just incompetent leadership. The Royal Army was also slacking in equipment, which predominantly dated back to the Great War and thus was not up to par with the then modern equipment standards both the Allied and the German armies had. After the Axis defeat in Tunisia, morale had dropped and the embarrassment saw Mussolini overthrown by King Victor Emmanuel III. In September of 1943, the Kingdom of Italy signed an armistice with the Allies and finished the fight on the Allied side. In 1946, the Italian monarchy was abolished and Italy became a republic, which it still is to this day. Along with this change, the Royal Army also became the Italian Army, or as we know now as Esercito Italiano. The Italian Army took part in the Cold War, defending their northeastern border with Yugoslavia, and in 1975 the Italian Army had a reform in which regimental levels were abolished and battalions were now under the command of new multi-armed brigades. Since then, Esercito Italiano has participated in numerous operations and wars, including the Gulf War and Iraq War, and currently has about 100,000 active personnel all ready to engage and defend their peninsula. So let's begin by taking a look at our primary weapon that we're going to be equipping. The Italian army used many of their own manufactured weapons from private weapons company Fabbrica di Armi Pietro Beretta, which is usually shortened to just Beretta. One weapon particularly used by the Italian army is the Beretta Ar 1790. The Ar 1790 is a gas-operated rifle chambered with the 5.56 by 45mm NATO cartridge, and it is the standard service rifle of the Italian armed forces. This assault rifle isn't available in Modern Warfare sadly, but there is a weapon that with the right attachments bears a striking resemblance. That weapon is the newly introduced Grau 5.56. And so the Grau 5.56 will be our primary weapon. But of course we can't go in bare bones, so let's equip some attachments for our Grau 5.56. For our first attachment, we're going to be looking into a muzzle, and the muzzle that I've gone with is the Muzzle Break. We want to make the Grau 5.56 look as much like the AR-1790 as possible, and by equipping the muzzle brake on the end of our barrel, it resembles the AR-1790 muzzle look. For our second attachment, we're going to be going with an actual barrel, and this barrel is the FFS 20.8 inch Nexus. This barrel isn't quite the same as the one seen on the AR-1790, but it's as close as we're going to get to achieving that extended look. Plus, in game this barrel increases our damage range, bullet velocity and recoil control, which will help us out greatly in long range firefights, so the FFS 20.8 inch Nexus will be our second attachment. For our third attachment we'll be going with an optic, and the optic I've gone with is the Scout Combat Optic. Out in the field the AR-1790 is usually equipped with some sort of optical sight, usually a red dot or ACOG sight, but since we're going for a long range configuration, we'll equip the Scout Combat Optic in game to give us that 3.25 times magnification when aiming down sights. For our fourth attachment we're going to be going with a stock, and the stock that I've gone with is the XRK Strike Light 3. The AR-1790 in real life features a hollow stock, and this is to reduce the weight of the weapon whilst maintaining accuracy when the stock is up against your shoulder. So we'll choose the XRK Strike Light 3 stock to replicate this. And lastly, for our fifth and final attachment, we're going to be going with a weapon perk, and the weapon perk that I've gone with is Frangible Wounding. This weapon perk causes a delay in target healing when we fire bullets into our enemies, and this is going to be beneficial to us when engaging at medium to long ranges. If we fire some shots off and get a couple of hit markers, the enemy is going to remain weak and increases our chances of picking them off. So Frangible Wounding will be our fifth and final attachment for this weapon. So those are going to be our attachments for the Grau 5.56. Now let's move on to our secondary weapon of choice for this loadout. Just like with the AR-1790, the Italian army use the Beretta 92 series of pistols for their sidearms, and the main pistol they use is the Beretta 92 FS. The 92 FS again isn't available in Modern Warfare, but we can select a pistol and configure some attachments to make it look a bit like it. So the pistol I'm choosing for this loadout is the M19. So let's take a look at what attachments we're going to equip for it. For our first attachment, we're going to be going with a barrel, and the barrel I've gone with is the XRK L Super. This barrel for the M19 makes the muzzle end stick out more and gives us a closer look to the real life Beretta 92 FS. Plus, the benefits of this attachment are an increase in damage range, bullet velocity and recoil control. So we'll equip the XRK L Super barrel as our first attachment. For our second attachment, we're going to be going with a weapon perk, and again we're going to be going with Frangible Wounding. The reasons for this attachment is pretty much the same as the reasons for choosing it on our primary weapon, so the Frangible Wounding weapon perk will be our second attachment. And lastly, for our third and final attachment for the M19, we're going to be going with a rear grip, and the rear grip that I've gone with is the granulated grip tape. This grip tape specialises in weapon steadiness, and when walking into a building or around a corner, we want our pistol to be steady on target in case any enemies are in our vicinity. Plus, the look of this grip tape makes an indentation on the M19 that has slight similarities to the 92 FS, so the granulated grip tape will be our third and final attachment. So those will be our primary and secondary weapons for this class setup. Now let's take a look at our perks and equipment that we're going to be selecting for this loadout. For our first tier perk, we're going to be going with EOD. Many of the Italian armed forces use shields as their insignias, including the Esercito Italiano, and the EOD perk features a shield as an indication that it can protect you against enemy explosives. Plus, some battalions use bulletproof vests on the front line, so we'll go with EOD as our tier 1 perk. For our second tier perk, we're going to be choosing Point Man. As I've talked about, the Italian army has a lot of interesting history from both World War I and World War II, and it was during these periods that a vast amount of medals were awarded to soldiers who sacrificed themselves and soldiers who survived. The Point Man perk features a big star-studded medal, so we'll equip Point Man as our tier 2 perk. And lastly, for our third tier perk, we're going to be choosing Battle Hardened. Just like with standard militaries, helmets are always equipped to protect the soldier's head and to attach various pieces of technology and equipment to it, to give these soldiers a tactical upper hand. Battle Hardened in Modern Warfare helps us be more tactical as it grants us extra resistance against tactical grenades and equipment. So we'll choose Battle Hardened as our tier 3 and final perk of this loadout. Now that we've covered our perks, let's move on to the equipment. For the lethal slots, we're going to be going with the frag grenade. Esercito Italiano equip a variety of fragmentation grenades to their arsenal with their infamous SRCM Model 35 grenade, so we'll equip the frag grenade in-game to replicate this. And for our tactical slot, we're going to be choosing the stun grenade. There's not many tactical grenades that the Italian army use. Common tacticals are flash grenades, but for this loadout I have chosen the stun grenade. The reason I've chosen this is because during the Great War, Italy were defending their land against the Austro-Hungarian Empire throughout the Alps, and managed to slow down their attack, which resulted in a win for the Allies, so the stun grenade reenacts that. And those are going to be our perks and equipment for this Esercito Italiano loadout. Now let's finish off the class setup by taking a look at our field upgrade of choice and our 3 selected killstreaks. For the field upgrade, I've gone with the Recon Drone. Being an Italian soldier in the Alpine region, we want to scout out any enemies that may be camouflaging in the high environment. The Recon Drone is a portable quadrotor drone that lets us scout out enemies and mark them in the world for ourselves and our teammates to see. As long as we keep ducking and diving around cover and terrain, we can blend in on the map and compromise the enemy's position. And so that's why I've chosen the Recon Drone as our field upgrade. Now we've decided on the field upgrade, let's move on to our 3 selected killstreaks for this loadout. For our first killstreak, we're going to be going with the Cluster Strike. Mortar strikes are used by the Esercito Italiano to take out enemy presences that may be lurking in the hills of northern Italy or from higher grounds across the Middle East and northern Africa. These mortars are imported from countries like France and Spain and serve a great purpose of clearing out hostiles. In Modern Warfare, the Cluster Strike fires off multiple cluster mortars from afar and destroy anyone caught in the target blast radius, so the Cluster Strike will be our first killstreak. For our second killstreak, we're going to be going with the Infantry Assault Vehicle, or IAV. Tanks and IAVs are an important part of the armed forces, and you certainly wouldn't see an army without them. Esercito Italiano use a variety of armoured tanks and fighting vehicles in combat, most of them manufactured on home soil by Consorzio Iveco Ottomelara, which is often shortened to CIO. Some examples of tanks developed by CIO include the Ariete, the Centauro, the Dardo, and the Freccia. In Modern Warfare we don't have tanks as such, but we do have the Infantry Assault Vehicle, which the Italian army use in real life, so we'll choose the IAV as our second killstreak. And finally, for our third killstreak, we're going to be choosing the VTOL jet. Despite aircraft being more associated with the Italian Air Force, fighter jets are still used in combat during operations carried out by the Italian army. The Mediterranean Sea surrounds most of Italy, which makes it a great location for aircraft carriers to linger around the ports. And the high altitude of the Italian peninsula means more cloud cover for fighter jets to blend in and remain hidden. In Modern Warfare, the VTOL jet swoops in onto the map, delivering a barrage of missiles on its designated target, before returning back to the mark zone to take out any ground forces it can detect. So the VTOL jet will be our third and final killstreak for this loadout. Combining our weaponry, perks, equipment, field upgrade and killstreaks, take a leap of faith as we climb the leaderboards like we do the mountaintops and admire the beauty that is Italia. So troops, that wraps up my Esercito Italiano loadout video for Modern Warfare. Next time you boot up Modern Warfare multiplayer, definitely give this class setup a try in game and paint the map red like Da Vinci. If you did enjoy this loadout video, then do give the video a thumbs up, I would appreciate it a lot. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so, and while you're at it, make sure you hit the bell notification icon right next to it. That way you're always notified as to when I make an upload. If you have any friends who might be interested in this sort of content, then definitely share the video around with your friends for more widespread exposure on my videos as well as my channel. And if you want to see any behind the scenes previews of my loadout videos, you can follow me on Twitter at jordanxbrookes for all the latest on there. As I've said before in previous videos, the world is in chaos thanks to COVID-19 spreading across the globe like storm. And this Italian army loadout is dedicated to the citizens of Italy who are in a frightening national crisis right now. This virus isn't going anywhere anytime soon, so please listen to what the government are telling you, stay safe and isolated at home, and keep washing and sanitizing your hands. Keep an eye out for more military themed loadouts and more playstyle loadouts in the near future. The next military loadout I'll be creating was a suggestion in the comments on one of my videos, so if you have any military loadout suggestions that you would like to see me cover, let me know down in the comment section below. So until the next video, I thank you all for watching, stay true to me troops, and I'll see you in game.